Hey, just in time for the holidays, what if you didn't have to worry about any of that credit card debt? If you're feeling stuck making the minimum payments and you don't want to have to put Christmas on a credit card, we can help at savewithconrad.com. We routinely help our listeners save hundreds of dollars a month. Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, kind of, you crack me up still every single time with your little Conrad on the ones and twos playing the DJ. All good, man. I'm fired up for this Ask Jeff Anything. I got my Starbucks. I'm hydrated. I hope I don't have to get up and use the bathroom, but I'll power through like the Podfather has done so many times. But how are you doing today, Conrad? How's North Alabama doing?
Man, it's been cold. You know, we had snow flurries last week, but this week it's actually warmed up a little bit. So fingers crossed that it's not going to be February weather just yet, but
it's that time
we're marching towards a big Thanksgiving. And of course, on the way, we've got Full Gear this weekend. Stay tuned for that. We're going to be talking a little Full Gear, but I thought today, hey man, let's just throw the keys to the listeners and let's let you guys ask Jeff anything. Before we jump into it, I know you're looking forward to Full Gear this weekend. Is there anything else on your mind you want to let loose and let it rip?
Oh my goodness. I won't get in, but I won't get into it, but everybody has seen the Golden Rule Entertainment, but we'll talk about that in the weeks to come. It was incredible experience. I'm going to bring some photos. I didn't get them here today, but that's good. Acclaim. Conrad, we did that showcase back a couple of months ago, and the rollout of that's been quite fun, a lot of fun. I'll just kind of leave this right here. You know, that show that you visited, I'm not sure you bought a ticket, but that Jeff Jarrett All-Star Superstar Slam.
If I'm honest with you, I just snuck in. I know I shouldn't have done that, but
well, you were late. You powered through that day. Anyway, there's some as our man, Mr. Podcasting Dave Green says, there's a lot of chatter about maybe what's that going to look like in 2026. So there is some interest. Yeah, I know. I was a couple of different independent promotions, and hey, independent promotions. I won't go as far as that, but some folks have reached out, and Dude Wipes was a incredible sponsor for the entire weekend. And I think I've shared this on here. Maybe I haven't, Conrad, on the pod, but the guy candidly walked up and said, "Hey man, the show was really, really good. Can you duplicate this?" Now, Conrad, if you were a betting man, how do you think old Double J responded to that question? Can you duplicate this?
Why, sure I could. Diplomatically, what did you have in mind?
There you go.
It's pretty close.
What did you have in mind? That's funny. Folks, we didn't rehearse it.
No, I just know my buddy. I know how he talks. Because I'm sure what you were thinking, you thought to yourself, this fella here wants to sponsor more wrestling shows. Now, do I want to take the money? Yeah, I reckon I do.
Oh God,
we've got some fun stuff planned, by the way. Stay tuned if you're in the Middle Tennessee area. You may or may not be hearing some exciting news, especially if you're a Jeff Jarrett fan, here in the coming weeks. I'm not going to say exactly when, but if I was a betting man, I'd say before the end of the year. So
okay,
fingers crossed and stay tuned. Let's do it, Jeff. We got a lot of questions. We'll get to some of them. There's a fella named Sean Ross Sapp.
Oh yeah,
on Twitter. It's at Sean Ross Sapp. Are you familiar with that name? Does that ring a bell?
For some reason, you know, you're in Alabama, I'm in Tennessee. I feel like that's a Kentucky name. I may be way off. Doesn't that feel like a Kentucky name? Like,
he is a Southern gentleman, yes, sir. From Kentucky.
Using the three in Tennessee, we don't use three names, and I know in Alabama it's a one word. You know, I won't get into one words that we use down in Bama, but
let's do it. Sean Ross Sapp says, does he know if Spike really offered to buy 10% of TNA from Dixie? And if so, why didn't she take it? What a great question. So lots of rumor and innuendo about this, Jeff. Set the record straight. Do you know for sure?
I'm absolutely positive, and I know from both sides. Can you tell me what you've heard? Because I don't think we've ever covered this here on the pod.
Eric Bischoff has said that there were times where he felt like a way to sort of make the Spike deal and the Viacom deal sticky to TNA was to give them some sort of ownership interest. And of course, we know that that was the case with a company like Bellator. As a reminder, the UFC comes in and does really, really well when it's sort of touching WWE programming, and they build the Ultimate Fighter. It becomes a huge success. And at the first opportunity, Vince leaves for a better deal, and so does Dana White in the UFC. So when they have new solutions like Bellator for MMA, Spike and Viacom took ownership. Eric says allegedly Spike wanted to do the same thing with TNA, meaning, hey, we'll invest in your brand, we'll feature it on TV, we'll even help underwrite some of the payroll for the bigger stars, but we would like to own part of the business. And Eric felt like by doing such a deal, you could perhaps cement the Spike relationship on a long-term basis. Sean Ross Sapp is asking, was this ever a real offer? And why didn't Dixie take it if it was?
If it would have been a real offer, I can almost assure you, but the problem gets down to, hey, we want to own it, but who's going to run it? They were well aware of 2011, 12, 13, or maybe not 11, but 12, 13 results. So I think there were discussions, but Kevin Kay and crew, I think were under almost the exact same mindset that Toby was if we're going to get in bed together, we can't operate the way we're operating right now. So that's that. And I'm unless Bob Carter really held a card close to his vest, it never got to his desk. And that's the one that mattered. So maybe there was coffee talk on Eric and Dixie, and maybe a brief conversation, but nothing ever materialized. And I know very much so after the fact, there was no interest in operating. I mean, the results were they canceled the deal. They weren't interested in doing business in the way they had been doing the business from a creative direction. I'm positive of that. So no. And I do think if Kevin would have come with a real offer, but he said it then, he said it multiple times after, they're not in the wrestling business. But they do feel they probably should have held on to UFC under certain circumstances. And I think Fox feels the same way, that they had an opportunity and probably should have tried to figure out a much longer deal. But those networks, 15 years ago or even further than that, they weren't in the model wasn't there for them to own part of it. Now to me, it's completely flipped. So, Bellator, we kind of saw how that ran its course. It wasn't a successful venture. So you got to have people at the helm. You got to have, I'll call it wrestling people running a wrestling company. And that was never in the cards in Kevin Kay and Viacom's eyes.
Excellent question from Sean Ross Sapp from Kentucky. I guess you know him. It's kind of weird. Next up, we've got a question from Charlie Thrower, who says, you've given lots of guitar necklaces over the last 20 plus years. Who would you take one from and why? So somebody's going to crack you with a guitar. Who would you want that person swinging said guitar to be, Jeff?
So we're going to have fun with this. At the end of the day, the one name that may or may not jump off the page, if you just want to go all the way back, but I think you could build, what was I just seeing in the music trades, Conrad? Like I don't want to call them the legacy acts, the nostalgia acts, not just music acts of the 80s, 90s, but anyway, those, just the crazy amount of business. I guess that's in the back of my brain, but I think for a wrestling fan, if Honky Tonk Man ever cracked me over the head with the right little segment or story, that'd be entertaining. Oh gosh, who would I like if we pull him out of my career? Lawler would have been a nice one to do it. You know, if the time would have been right and the story would have been right, Karen cracking me with a guitar might have been entertaining. But you know, how can I not mention? Can you imagine if old Beetle would have had like a ukulele and he got his revenge on me? I think that could be fun TV.
Hypothetically speaking, if you weren't such a butthole to WWE and you hadn't walked out after In Your House number 2, and you would have still been a part of the new generation. And in March of 96, when Shawn Michaels becomes the world champion, he's going to have a series of challengers through the year. And I got to think, perhaps instead of the Bulldog feud that happened, he would have picked up with you. In an alternate timeline, I think you could have been a great heel to the guy who's, you know, won his boyhood dream, the teen idol, if you will. And Shawn Michaels and you hooking it up in 96 in that string of matches where, I mean, he starts with Brett, later he's got Diesel, you know, but the big stuff towards the end of the year that I get excited about is, you know, he wrestled Vader. And then, you know, the month after that, he's wrestling Mankind. And I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot of fun stuff that's happening in 96 that you could have been a part of, but also too, to age out of that Double J character during the Attitude Era, if you would have been there the whole time to drop that persona at some point, you know, you could have gotten guitars from a lot of different people in that Attitude Era. So I think Shawn Michaels would be mine as a fan. I wanted to see.
I'll tell you what, you know how Austin kept running down to the ring and stunned me, and we never really got that off, man. And I know he had the bad neck and everything that went with that, but boy, there's a scenario there, Conrad, that, you know, he stunned me, and then I lay him out with a guitar, and when he were to get his revenge,
he hits you with a guitar. It would have been great.
That could have been interesting as well.
But like right after, you know, we knew that it was going to be Good Friends, Better Enemies at In Your House 7, right after WrestleMania 12. That's Shawn and Diesel. That's fantastic. But respectfully, the next one was the one where they lost power in the Carolinas, and that was the Bulldog one. Beware a Bulldog.
Yep.
And not dumping on him, but I just think, hey man, you and Shawn probably would have had a better match, and that would have been In Your House 8.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been that much later, and you would have been a prime opponent because you had just done it for the IC. And then when you take a look at like King of the Ring, you know, that's when they're trying to breathe new life into the Ultimate Warrior. And, you know, Shawn Michaels is working the Bulldog again. So if you didn't get him at the In Your House, you would have had an opportunity at King of the Ring, because In Your House International Incident was like a hodgepodge 6-man with Shawn. I mean, so you've got Bulldog, Owen, and Vader against Ahmed Johnson, Shawn Michaels, and originally Ultimate Warrior, but he's replaced with Sid. So there's 3 pay-per-views right there where I think you could argue,
good call.
It makes sense for you, because SummerSlam is Vader, and then Mind Games is Mankind, which we loved. But like that May, June, July, one of those easily would have been you versus Shawn for the title.
That's, you know, your history so well. That's impressive. But that's no doubt. I mean, it just fits, and the story would have come, I can't say full circle, but there would have been quite a bit there. Yeah.
Because you could have picked up where you left off with the Intercontinental story.
And you, I was going to say, Road Dogg could play in that a number of different ways.
They brought him back in that era, so he's in the Survivor Series 96 as the roadie. So there would have been so much to. Yeah. If you guys don't walk out between May, June, and July, you're in a main event for the big belt against Shawn.
Thanks for the reminder. We have talked about that, but true. It's true.
Yeah, I just love thinking about the what ifs, because I know that it was a down period, you know, the new generation. But as you know, whereas once upon a time it wasn't talked about with a lot of reverence, when people go back and they watch it, they say, man, take a look at all the great wrestling that's happening here. And I think when they look at your match with Shawn and In Your House 2, they're like, well, that's about as good as it gets from a WWF main event standpoint. So to repeat that for the world title seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah. And it's funny how things age different. Yes. Yeah. There's,
you know, people used to hate the ruthless aggression era. You know, it was attitude or bust. And now it's had such a resurgence. People love the ruthless aggression.
Yes.
They warmed up to it.
Yeah. Oh, we could go off in a rabbit hole about the 2000s, TNA, ruthless aggression, different highlights. And at the time, you might have called them, I don't say low lights, but yeah. Oh, time heals all, I guess you could say.
Well, something that I don't know if time heals all, but I think Mars Men might be able to help us do that. You know, listen, I got to be honest. I'm 44, and suddenly everything that felt like it used to be easy, well, it wasn't. And I don't think a lot of guys talk about this, but you will start to feel the change of lower testosterone as you get a little older. A lot of guys, they say it starts hitting them in like their mid 30s, like 34, 35. You could be doing the same workouts, have the same diet, but it still feels like you're just moving through mud. But nobody really tells you about this stuff. And that's why Jeff and I recommend Mars Men. And I got to tell you, your body makes testosterone. We all know that, but a lot of it gets locked up and it can't be used. But there's this protein called SHBG that basically handcuffs your testosterone. So even if your body's making testosterone, SHBG locks it up so you can't access it. It's like having money in the bank, but your debit card doesn't work. And Mars Men is designed to help free that locked testosterone so your body can actually use it. Now, there's no synthetics, there's no needles, just real ingredients that help optimize energy, focus, and your strength. And Jeff, I know you've been using this for a while. I know it's helped with some of your stronger physical performance, but I got to imagine you're having more consistent natural energy and your recovery is better in the gym. You see, it supports healthy T levels, energy, and stamina. And there's 8 natural, clinically closed ingredients. It's all made here in the USA. It's third-party tested. And did I mention there's a 90-day money-back guarantee? So there's no risk. Worst case, you don't absolutely love it and you get your money back. But over 91% of users report higher energy levels. Thousands of guys are feeling incredible results. Just check out the reviews on the website to see for yourself. For a limited time, our listeners get 60% off for life and 3 free gifts when you use the code MYWORLD at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com and use the code MYWORLD at checkout. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Jeff, I know you've been a Mars man for a while, and you're obviously familiar with how critical as a professional athlete, and certainly as one, respectfully, that is over the age of 34, testosterone is critically important, is it not?
It is. And, you know, there's a big, it's very newsworthy, Connie, I guess you could say, with, yeah, I guess is it the FDA? Yeah, that's the body ruling this week. And that's kind of on the women's side. But it's funny how time goes along and everything is hush hush or swept under the rug. And look, I'm not going to get in a rabbit hole, but it's like our whole mindset. Mine hasn't been this way for 30 something years, but generally speaking, it's always essentially treating something after you have the downfall or whatever. Just you're not really treating the root cause, and the root cause of so many of guys' issues. When I tell you this across the board, whether it's getting sniffles or cold, or whether it's feeling energy, or can't be productive, and then you get a little depressed, then you get behind. Look, I've been there. Then you start drinking. Anyway, we're us guys, folks. We're fueled by testosterone. It's that simple. So just get your levels. I'm not saying sky high. Get them up and level them out. And look, you have nothing to lose. You get your money back if you don't like it, and you get 60% off, as NWO folks say, for life. So, folks, get your test levels up. You just won't regret it. It's that simple.
Let's do another question here. This one from Ross Parks. He wants to know, if you could handpick the person, who would be the last opponent for the last outlaw? Someone in the business today who's bringing out the best of Double J. That's a good question, Jeff. Like, if you were to pick your last opponent, have you put any thought into that at all?
You know what? It's funny. Ever since the Flair, Ric Flair lastmatch.com, ever since, Connie, that kind of all went down. And yes, it happened here in Nashville. So maybe that's a part of it, but no, not even it conventions and different things like that. A lot of people will comment on that, and then they'll I don't know if it's a conversation starter or whatever it may be, but essentially something to the effect of, hey, man, who's going to be your last opponent? Because they'll say, did you ever think you would be Flair? And I'm said, I promise you, I didn't, Conrad didn't, Rick didn't, but it all just kind of played out in a pretty cool way. So, but who would be mine? I almost going through the experience we went through, Conrad, I almost don't want to jinx a name, but when I just kind of look at different folks, I can have a wish list here and there, and
don't name one, rattle off 4 or 5 that you think you'd be happy with. That's fine.
Well, and look, the first one that really came to my mind back because he was there that night. Now it's not even an option. Would be Lawler. Just one more go around with him, and me being, and I said it at the end of Flair's thing, a natural heel, more successful heel, whatever it be. So who's the best guy for me to put over to kind of go through that route? But man, there are so many. But I have talked about our current champion, old Hangman, good chemistry. Now, do I think that's realistic? Probably not. But damn,
why not? Why not? Why wouldn't that be realistic?
Well, and look, here's another one that is probably not realistic, but I've always had really good chemistry with the Road Dogg. Our matches in Australia and some different places.
Yeah, but he's retired. He's not active. Give me
I know. But I mean, I could kind of go through a list of who would be meaningful. But look, Hangman is definitely up at the top of that list.
I'm not saying this is it. Would Jay Lethal be a potential one?
Oh, for sure. So that's what I'm saying. Oh, absolutely, for sure. I could kind of go through that list. I don't think all the different guys that I would probably mention. Hey, Conrad, people my age are retired, so I got to go a generation down.
If we're gonna pick one from somebody who wears another jersey, doesn't wrestle, but I think perhaps even if he doesn't want to, he might for you. I could get excited about you and Abyss one last time.
Oh boy,
like, wouldn't that be fun? That feels like such an easy story because you're going to be a baby face in your last one, even if you want to be a heel. So you're going to have to tell a story with a big, mean, nasty monster who wants you bleeding.
I can see it. Unbelievable. Oh, for sure. Man, you need to go ahead. Would you be his mouthpiece that you turn on me? No,
I would love to. Here's what we'll do now. We'll have Megan hit you in the side of the head with a shoe. That's what we'll do. I mean, listen, if we're just going to have a hypothetical and we're going to talk about somebody who's in the tent, but you have history with, would Samoa Joe check the box?
Oh, there you go.
I mean, Samoa Joe feels like that.
A badass heel, history, the TNA run from multiple angles. Whew, wow. I mean, AJ'd be a dream, but man, Joe inside the tent, just Conrad going down that road. And look, some of that, I mean, we joke backstage off and on at different things. And, his son comes to the taping, and literally I can remember almost like it was yesterday at Orlando Impact Zone, Joe with his wife, excuse me, pushing his son in a stroller. So I mean, a lot of history with that's a good one, Conrad. Damn, you're on today, pal. I gotta get more coffee in me. That's a good one. Samoa Joe, last match.
I mean, Abyss, Samoa Joe, Hangman.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like there's a few good ones out there.
There is. That's a good question. Good question.
Let's do another one here. Jonathan Snowden. I love Mr. Snowden. He does some great books. He says, I'd love to hear his favorite story about his grandmother, Teeny, intimidating all of the boys. And I know that you've seen the famous letter from Jack Pfeffer about, Teeny tried to kill me, which is tremendous. Do you have any stories of her talking about snatching a knot in the rear end of some of those guys back in the day?
Okay.
3, 2.
Sweet. I'm thinking because Sweet Stan Lane.
Okay.
So Louisville Gardens. I'm going to try to do, if you're inside the back lobby or the back area, Conrad, and you're kind of looking from left to right, there's probably 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, maybe 14 doors, a lot. And the ones on the left would be the only ones open to come in and out of coming in the back door for the show. Well, let's just say the back alley has some extracurricular activity, Conrad, if that makes sense, back in the day, or so I've heard. And so Stan himself has told me this, that so, the guys get to the building and then get dressed. And then, in those days you smoked in the dressing room way back when. So there was really no reason to go back out in the back alley, but you could come up with multiple excuses. And one time, so if you're looking at the far left, those are the doors that are open that you use. Down on the far right, some of the guys would slip in and out that door, but they would do it in private or behind her back, and they would wedge a little piece of wood where the door would not lock shut. And the story goes that Stan had stuck his head out there, and he was having a little quick conversation with the young lady, I think making plans for it later in the evening. And Miss Teeny knew, so he's out there. So she went down there, picked her right time as Stan's there, and she just stuck her hand out through the door around, and she knew where he was at because she went and peeked and looked down. She could see, and you'd have to know the building, but you couldn't really see. But she lined it up, knew that where he was standing, stuck out that, and she grabbed him. And kind of by luck, but also by design, caught him right in the back of the hair, and she worked her way up to his ear, and she pulled him around the door and inside and gave her famous line, "Mr. Lane, I am the oldest rat in the barn. Stay inside." And she was furious. So she didn't like the guys going out back. So those, Billy Travis has one of those stories. Anyhow, that's kind of a fun thing, but she policed the back alleys. Evansville, there's a Terry Gordy story as well, where Terry was, for whatever he was doing, the inside of the windows fogged up, and he wasn't by himself. It wasn't smoke. And Miss Teeny knocked on the window, and there was no pause in action. And she stayed a knocking until the rocking sustained.
Hey, let me ask you. I'm not asking this to be funny. I'm legitimately asking. Did she think that was bad for business? I'm legitimately asking. What was her motivation for stopping it? And how did it compare to, say, if she had caught some guys with a left-handed cigarette?
The kind of in a way, the implied, the unwritten rule, you can do anything you want off venue ground.
Not on the show's property.
And that's it. Like literally across the board, left-handed cigarettes, extracurricular activity.
Liability issues are what we're talking about.
That and didn't want whatever it may be, has the potential of having bad PR. And see, the world has changed so much. And look, I know there has been those cases that something go down, and there's been little small spot shows. It was Lewisburg, Tennessee. We had a guy jump the rail. I may be wrong on this. A little market, small city that, there ends up being an arrest, and the guy's all in the wrong and all this. But all the people really remember out of the news is an arrest at a wrestling match. It's bad PR, and it's really hard to overcome because the news cycles, you're much better at articulating this if need be, just so much slower back then. Like,
yeah,
so much slower. So it was hard to get that out. And my dad was like, even into the TNA days, I remember Pam Tuscany. She was the big boss in Orlando. And we had at a meeting with her before we actually completely moved down there. And I remember my old man having the conversation in that, him giving the Jerry Jarrett. Did you hear what she said in there? Because the security off and on and all kind of stuff. And look, this is going back to 2004 or 5, whatever it may be. So we're not that far removed from 9/11, just heavy security. and they check bags and all that kind of stuff. And he just said, son, don't let one of your talent screw up your deal. Be as heavy-handed as you need to be out of the gate, and then you're going to eliminate your problems. He was big on do not do things like his kind of a mandate not to run shows in the hometown. Don't bring problems on yourself if you can avoid it.
I'm going to ask a question now that's going to get us both in trouble, I'm sure.
And I can turn the light on here in a minute, but go ahead.
I want to ask you, you said Teeny said, Stan, I'm the oldest rat in the barn or something like that. I know these days the term rat has a negative connotation and people try to shy away from it. But the way you said it, I'm wondering, was she being self-deprecating when she said that? Or did it used to not be a term that was used in a negative situation? Like it does feel like it's taken a negative connotation in recent years.
Well, while she was letting, hey, I know exactly what you're doing. I know the deal. Don't do
You're
it.
not fooling me, sort of thing.
You're not fooling me. And trying to be as diplomatic. Seriously, she always, and like Tommy Rich will tell, we in Philly, we got to catch up, and he was talking about her and my dad and just kind of their style of doing business.
Yeah.
Yeah. In that never ever heavy handed, because there was just no need in it, that if you can't come to terms. And, Tommy would say, I've seen your dad let a lot of folks go, and he absolutely would let them work out their notice. And if they needed 3 weeks or even maybe 4 weeks, and he brought up, he's just like, that was kind of the way to do business in that, hey man, we can make it work, but if things aren't going to work out, let's go our separate ways. And so, yeah, that was just her mentality, that not on my grounds, because I'm ultimately responsible. Those are some life lessons, business lessons, that the older I get, Conrad, my God, it's so simple, but boy, so valuable.
I'm not trying to double down, but I do want to understand, was the phrase rat always said with a negative connotation, or was once upon a time it not negative and it just sort of evolved as society changed and got better?
It depends on who you ask. I mean,
the women used to refer to themselves as rats. That's what I'm asking.
No.
Okay.
No. It was my understanding. It's as much of the wrestling jargon as kayfabe and Mark and speaking in Kizarny and all those kind of things. And it was in the close knit part of the industry that it was just kind of a term. I'll say this diplomatically. Frank Morrell, referee, French Angel, traveled with him a lot. I can remember kind of his phrasing was he would say it nicely to different guys, but what he was trying to say is, hey man, don't fall in love with this girl. She's not the kind that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And I know that's probably a little rough around the edges, but he meant it from, look, this lady's been coming to wrestling matches 5 years before you got here and going to be 5 years after. So just let it be.
and Lord bless her. We needed them. Hey, I do want to ask, since we're talking about it, Conrad from Huntsville wants to know.
Okay.
Did you ever hear a story of a guy who thought he had a super female fan who was just a real big fan and really wanted to spend time with him? But then at the end of their visit, maybe she thought she had performed a service and she was hoping to get paid, and there was a miscommunication with the male counterpoint. Like, wait, you're not just a super fan. You're here working too, like me tonight. Does that ever happen?
To my knowledge, that is actually a funny, but kind of a thought-provoking question. I don't ever recall or hearing of that. That's funny, but no, I don't. There was never really any mistaken identity.
Well, maybe they never had to, if it would have happened in these modern days, I know that one of the boys would have been reaching to say, well, let me see what I got in my Ridge wallet right here and we'll figure something out. And listen, that's what you need. I've heard people say this is the front pocket wallet. I actually like that, but really Ridge works anywhere you want. Here's what we know. You don't need to be sitting on a big old leather brick. And you may even wind up like George Costanza and throw your damn back out. If your back hurts, it might be because you're sitting on a big old dumb leather wallet. You need a Ridge. They're unique, they're slim, they're modern wallets, and they've took their game and upped it. Yeah, it's a game-changing wallet. Say hello to the Ridge 2.0. It is indeed the most refined version of the Ridge wallet. Ridge has now been perfecting the wallet for 12 years. And let me just get straight to the point. Everything's better on Ridge 2.0. It's lighter. Yeah, they found the perfect balance, and every gram matters in the new Ridge 2.0. They've also made modular improvements. They've got cash straps, they've got money clips, they've got air tag attachments. But here's what's cool. They've got an improved surface design, and they've got tonal logos and matching and plated cash straps. Like, if you haven't looked at Ridge in a while, I want you to go look at it now. You need to know that Ridge is using premium materials. I'm talking aluminum, titanium, even carbon fiber. That's the one I'm rocking. And you can even hold up to 12 cards plus your cash. They've got stuff for every NFL team, every Major League Baseball team, or even your favorite college team. This makes it perfect for that guy in your life who's hard to buy for. We all know that guy in our life who says, "Oh, I don't need anything." What he needs is a new wallet, and this will be the last wallet he ever needs. It's perfect for the holiday gifts, and you're getting your best deals right now. I also want to mention that Ridge wallets have an industry leading built for life warranty, meaning even if your wallet is lost or stolen, they've got you covered. Who else does that? And now all the Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology. It's going to keep you safe from digital pickpocketers. Listen, guys, you don't have to take my word for it. Ridge has over 100,000 five-star reviews. Really ask yourself, when was the last time you loved a product so much you felt compelled to go leave a 5-star review? It's rare for me that I'll actually go online and leave a review. Ridge has had 100,000 people so blissfully happy with theirs, they went and left a 5-star review. And by the way, Ridge is more than just wallets. They've got all your premium everyday carry essentials. They got your key cases, your suitcases, their game-changing power banks, and it's all with the same sleek, cool, durable design. And let me just mention, losing your wallet is the worst, but with the Ridge Tracker card, you'll always know exactly where it is before panic mode kicks in. It's perfect peace of mind for holiday traveling and gifting. And right now, for a limited time, Ridge is having their huge Black Friday sale. Head on over to ridge.com. That's RIDGE.com. Ridge.com. You'll get up to 47% off your order. This is by far the biggest discount they've given all year. That's ridge.com, RIDGE.com. You'll get up to 47% off your order. It's the biggest sale of the year. And after you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Jeff, let's do a question here from James Stewart, one of our great close personal friends who I just know last week was at the Kowloon with Mick Foley. He says,
Okay.
what are the biggest pops that you've been in the building for? I asked because the pop for John Cena's IC title win in Boston on Monday night is only behind the Austin pop when Mick Foley won the WWF title in Worcester. Of course, James was at both of those. Two huge moments, two big pops. Mick Foley wins the world title for the first time. John Cena wins the Intercontinental title for the first time. When you think about big pops you were in the building for, what would you list?
Gosh, Conrad. Well, there was a string of Monday Night Raws during the Attitude Era that you knew it was coming, and whether McMahon was in the ring or not, when the glass broke in an in-ring, or sometimes even it was that kicking off the show that they're all up and hyped and who are they going to see, and then the music pauses for a bit. So Austin pops during the Attitude Era, and you can just plug and play whatever it may be. Those were they got to be right up there at the top. Another few that come to mind that, look, it's not sold out arenas, but I'll say this: the loudest pop that I've ever heard, and I've watched a lot of wrestling in there and produced a lot in the Nashville Asylum, and this by multiples, was the Hardy pop. The people, the building, I think because he had just come off that hot babyface run, if you will, and I just don't think the people in Nashville were like, oh, we really are going to get to see the charismatic enigma. He had several big pops. Kerry Von Erich in the Sportatorium. That was one night that, and I'm doing more on entrance when the music hits. Like, you knew that, okay, you heard good pops and this and that. And sometimes as a talent, you can hear your pop, but it's different being in the ring. And so being in the ring and hearing all that, but backstage in the ring, Kerry's pop. I'll tell you what, I'm sitting here naming off a bunch of baby faces. I'll tell you a heel pop that I can't say was deafening, but it was like, okay, this dude's really over in this arena. We brought in Kamala out in Texas. For whatever, it was just super impressionable upon me. And when his music hit, everybody in the Sportatorium stood up. And those when we were doing the TV tapings and business was really good. And Friday night it was packed. I mean, everybody in the building stood up, and I'm just like, okay, this guy has definitely built his character here. That goes up there. Bret Hart in Germany, Conrad.
Hey, I don't mean to cut you off, but I do want to ask because I don't know. What do you remember? And again, I feel like they were using unlicensed music back then. What was the theme song for Kamala in Dallas? I don't recall.
I want to say almost just kind of like tribal.
Whatever, fans had to know what it was.
Yes.
Clearly. Yes.
I mean, it was just kind of tribal, jungle, war dance, kind of nothing like over the top by any stretch, but it was they knew his music. It was, and as I sit here and say that, did Mark Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen, about to come down the aisle from hailing from Uganda, and the music yet? I don't specifically recall, but I remember the vibe in the arena was just like, holy crap. I was up in the crow's nest. It was big. It was like, jeez. And crow's nest, you could kind of look out through the arena and see everybody. It was really, really cool. Like I said, Bret in Germany was super over, and they were super starved for wrestling. That was a big one. Trying to think of any. Oh, well, I'll tell you one that is right up there. And look, I've done so many different things, all this, but Conrad, me and Karen worked the Crash show in Tijuana.
I knew a Mexico story was coming.
And I the crazy heat, and it was like, you just, as a performer, it's so hard for me to kind of convey, because yes, we had outlines and all this kind of stuff, but there was so much kind of ad lib, and hey, you guys aren't going to send the right folks until they were going off my cue in the ring, and they knew that I would build the heat till I felt it was right. And so it wasn't so point A, point B, point C, point D, point E. And so we built the heat and built the heat and built the heat and built the heat and built the heat. And it was right. And Karen was crazy, just a shitload of heat. And we had a spot in there. And when we went for it, and out of nowhere, Rey Mysterio appears, and he does his kind of fired up little deal. And he was in a hood. You didn't exactly know. I think I'm all this right. But I fell in place, and Karen fell beside me. And then that's when Ray came out of the hoodie, and everyone in the building knew, shit, that's Mysterio. And when he hit us with the 619, damn. I mean, it's probably one of Karen's top 5 favorite moments in her entire wrestling career. It was a big one. That was a good one.
Well, I think you know how much I love Miss Karen, but I do want to ask, because I think as a married guy, this would be an interesting conversation to have. When did you realize, and how do you present in a way where you don't get any heat? Honey, you play a fantastic crazy bitch character. Because I could see how, to any other woman who didn't really understand the business, though, what do you mean? But in this case, we know that she's phenomenal at it. And I know that's not the real life Karen, but how do you pitch that to someone who's not necessarily in the business Did she get it right away, or when did it click for you? Like, oh, there's money in this.
I can't remember the exact timeline, but it was, gosh, before we got married. And I said in Orlando, I said, did you just say what I think you said? You used to watch the NWA with your grandfather? She said, yeah. And there was a time her father was really, really sick during her high school years and even junior high and high school years and all this. And Greensburg was just right outside of Pittsburgh. That's where they live. But there was almost a 2-year period where she went and lived with her grandparents down in West Virginia. Went to school down there. Tough time for the entire family and all this. But that is where I guess her first really impressions of, like so many people, and a lot of people don't really understand that about Karen, is that she's just like, she was a fan first. And she said in Orlando, right by catering, that her favorite of all time, and I tried to do the timeline on all this, was Sherry Martel, that she just thought Sherry was incredible. And so it's the WCW era.
Yeah.
I'm guessing and all that, but also she knew about Miss Elizabeth and all that. And so that, I think, came later, her, of her fandom of just observing. But it was never really hard that was her favorite, Scary Sherry or Sherry Martel. And then when she got the opportunity, she had it in her mind that, okay, how do I so I think at times, and she doesn't like being babyface, but if she's a babyface, I think she tries to kind of channel her inner Miss Elizabeth, if you will, which she hates. Probably hate me saying this, but as a heel, it is Sherry. And, I think Sherry was a good talker, but I think Karen's verbal skills, especially when you give her time to think through it, she is a hateable bitch. And so when we, like on the 619 spot, all this kind of stuff, those kind of conversations, especially in, like, Conan would chuckle about this because he's like, hey man, I want to run this by you first before I run it by Karen. I'm like, you don't need to do that. You need to go with Karen. She's going to tell you what she will and won't do. And like, she never says no to nothing on any of this. So I want to make sure you're cool with it. We did that deal where the baby faces put a big black cape on her and a hat and called her a witch and threw her a broom as she was threw a broom as she's getting up, and she's standing there with the visual of a hat, a big black tarp on, and a broom. I mean, the people brouhaha immediately. So she is a natural heel, if you will.
She's fantastic at it. And I got to tell you, I never even thought about the Sherry Martel comparison, but that's exactly it. You can tell she's, with the benefit of hindsight, she's definitely drawing influence from that. But I want to give a compliment to Karen, but it's going to sound like it's not. Her facials are way better. Her facials are way better than Sherry. She's way better at it because, and don't get me wrong, wrestling changes and what the needs are and the expectation is different. But when Sherry Martel was doing the crazy over the top stuff, it felt performative. It felt like a character she was playing. But when Karen can like make the facial, she becomes like you, where even I know y'all and count you as friends. And even I'm like, oh, I'm not sure. Like, what if I do? I don't even know what to do. I feel like Ricky Bobby. Like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, I'm totally out of it. She's really good at it.
I don't know if I've told the story about old man Jarrett at Ric Flair last match about he had never, he had never been at ringside and a long time since for me, but he saw Karen and he did ask, he's like, now what really happened? And I just chuckled and I said,
Bubba too. Bubba and your dad were both like hook, line, and sinker thinking that Megan and Karen had real heat. And I just thought it was fantastic.
Rick and Jeff, they're working their ass off and that's fun.
Yes. But Karen, these ladies,
that's real.
Yes.
Isn't that the fun part of the business?
Because we all want to. We're talking about promoters. We're talking about Hall of Famers, and we all want to believe. We all want to suspend our disbelief. And Karen does not get enough credit for being. And listen, it feels like I'm being ugly to her, and I'm not trying to. But her smirks and resting bitch face, or whatever you want to call it, RBF, like, man, she's got it in such a way. Now we know she can just immediately turn it into a smile. It's a performance, but it's like, God, you just get sucked in. You're like, ooh, I don't know about this.
Yeah, that's good.
Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Tyler Mitchell says, when are we getting a chosen one WCW era Double J figure? Yes, I was a fan then, and that particular era doesn't have much representation when it comes to figures. Hey, that could happen. It doesn't have to happen with WWE. Do you think Jazz Wares or Big Rubber Guys or somebody like that will make one of that era?
I always defer to our guys, Mr. Matt Cardona and his crew, and Ryan Myers. They're the ones. And look, there are a couple of boutique guys that have done figures, and I go kind of defer to them. They came out with the Indian Aztec and obviously the Double J multiple colors and all this. I just think it's a matter of time that, you know, I'll call it just the Slapnuts era. And that is, do I have one around? I mean, there's just that kind of era, the Slapnuts, chosen one, as you call them, Bob Vila glasses. I'm surprised one hasn't been done.
Well, hopefully they're listening. They'll get on it. Justin Porter wants to know, and boy, we're going to get them stirred up on this one. In your opinion, who would you consider as the most underrated tag team of all time in any era?
Oh, gosh.
So we're not saying the best tag team. We're not saying the Mount Rushmore of tag teams. We're not even saying the most underrated young and up and coming tag team right now. We're saying all time and space, the most underrated tag team of all time, Jeff. And if you can't narrow it down to one, rattle us off a few.
Jesus. I mean, I wish, Justin, I think I heard the name. If I get it wrong.
Yep.
Great question. I mean, really good. I wish you would have given me some options to choose from, because in my brain, I'm, 40 years into the business, and I'll go back maybe 10 or 15 years before that. But underrated tag team, because oh, Jesus.
Let's make it easier. Who comes to mind in a WWF perspective?
Well, I mean, look, we could go down on so many of them that, like, and I'll always kind of go back. Like, at the end of the day, if you, I would say this: the Moondogs, they drew money at wherever they went, but you would never classify them as classic tag teams. I know that's 70s and 80s kind of stuff, but then you kind of get into, oh boy, modern, or even 10 or 15 years ago, a tag team that like Jimmy Del Rey and Tom Pritchard, the Heavenly Bodies. The industry wasn't a tag team savvy business at all. And they were fantastic. I mean, really knew how to work a tag match. And that's where, when I say underrated, I think my descriptor would be teams that really know how to work a tag, as opposed to two singles being thrown together. That's what I've always said. There's just such a huge difference in guys knowing how to work a tag match. Shawn Michaels, you get in a room with him, and I hopefully took that, because there's just a different mindset of a tag match can be two single matches, and it's terrible. Put together out there with four guys, or you can really have a tag match where stuff you do at the beginning of the match ties together to the middle, ties together to the heat, to the finish, false finishes, to the finish, and even the afterbirth. There's really an art to it. So underrated tag team. Look, good God, I'm just not good at this. I'd have to see a list. Did the Steiners get really enough?
Oh, they won it so many times. I don't know. I mean, in my head, I'm not saying this is it.
You're going to be better at this.
Like the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, Steve Armstrong and Tracy Smothers. I think that's a good team that never probably got its just due.
Okay.
And I could even say, the Fantastics, Tommy Rogers and Bobby Fulton. I mean, I know they had career, success on the indies, but as far as a national television audience, and even like, I know it was on TV for a minute here, but over in Japan, and certainly a little while in WCW, like Dr. Death and Terry Gordy, that could have worked. I think if that would have been longer. But if we think about guys who were like on the big show, but just didn't get a long enough run, maybe Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin.
Oh, that's not. There you go.
If they had some time, and at the same time, like, And again, they didn't have a bunch of success there, but imagine in a more modern era, if you had a Paul London and a Brian Kendrick back together.
Let me ask you something, because one of the teams that I like if I'm YouTubing it or whatever it may be, and just because of the nature of the Four Horsemen, and you had the Andersons and this and
Yes.
that, but Arn and Tully, and I know they had their run.
Well, if you set them aside, they're easily it, right?
Yeah, I just think they go because Tully had a single career, Arn with other Andersons and all that. But when they were together, and I know they had the WWE run, that they were so freaking good. Just really, those matches they had with the Rockers is criminally or it's just not mentioned. They were freaking that is when you really drill it down and you go, okay, Tully, Arn, Shawn, Marty. It's really hard to top that because those four guys knew how to work a tag.
Can I throw one last name of a tag team at you that I know some people are going to say they're not underrated, but I would argue that because they never really had the machine behind them, they had a ton of success in Ring of Honor, but the Briscoes have to be number one for me, because if they would have been in the WWE or they would have been in AEW, or if we had a time machine and they were in ECW or they were in WCW, like if they were given the big stage, the big platform and the big opportunity, I got to think the Briscoes were there.
I've told you the Dutch Mantel because Dutch pitched them a couple of different times, but kind of at the wrong time. Dutch, they're still under ROH. Can we just get them in here for this? Dutch was a huge fan, and his elevator pitch, if you will, was, hey, Jeff, I know they may not look like the bookend tag team. They may not talk like the tag team. Hell, you may not even think the work, but they've got one thing that you cannot duplicate is that they got he would say these words, Jeff, they got a shitload of charisma.
They do.
And you can't manufacture that. He absolutely. And when I look and go, because I saw him at that NWA show, they're the number ones, Conrad. That and Tully and Arn too. Those are the two most underrated tag teams, I think. Good call.
Hey, I'll tell you what, the Briscoes, I know they never really got their shot, but they were money. And speaking of money, today's episode is brought to you by Cash App. We are big believers in Cash App here on the program, and know you will be too. If you've been to the Independence, if you've been to any meet and greets, if you've been to any fan fest, you probably know already about Cash App. But what you may not know is, man, they're looking out for you, and even our family members. I got my mom on Cash App. I started to get to the age where she can't recognize what is a scam and what isn't a scam. I'm not always going to be with her there. So I made sure that she's hooked up with Cash App. And now Cash App has a lot more to offer, including built-in card security that keeps your money safe from fraud and gets you the protections you expect. And a lot of times the holidays are all about finding the perfect gift. But this time of year, not every deal is actually what it seems. Scammers, man, they're just getting more creative to trick people into sharing their payment info through methods like fake shopping sites or giveaways that seem and are too good to be true. But luckily, Cash App's 24/7 fraud monitoring helps you detect and alert you to any unusual card activity should someone gain access to your card. You can act fast if something seems off with Cash App. You can lock or unlock your Cash App card instantly right in the app for extra control and peace of mind. Stay one step ahead of scams this season and keep your money secure with Cash App. Did I mention that they've got advanced built-in security? That's all you need to know, man. These scammers, they're busy this holiday season, and you need to be protected. I did it for my mom, and you need to do it for yourself and your mom. Give yourself the peace of mind this holiday season and download the Cash App. For a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash for real. Just download the Cash App, use our exclusive referral code Secure10 in your profile, send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. See terms and conditions at cash.app/legal/US/EN-US/card-agreement. Promotions paid for and provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Download the Cash App and use our exclusive referral code SECURE10 on your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days and you'll get that $10 dropped right into your account.
And now it's time for the Tale of the Tape, presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Jeff, I'm fired up because this weekend, I can already feel it in my bones. It's AEW pay-per-view weekend. It's going to be here before you know it. Full Gear is here. I'm jacked. I'm pumped up. And you had a great idea this week, Jeff. Tell us about it.
My man, Steve is here. Hey, pal, good to see you. We are excited. We are literally days away. And as we get into this, I told Conrad, I said, I'm going to ask my buddy to come on, and we're going to talk about the main event and semi-main event and championship matches and all that. But I want him to educate us, and I'm looking for a hot tip. Steve, welcome to my world.
Double J, Conrad, is an absolute pleasure to be on the podcast here with you guys. Been a fan of the pod for many years, so nice to have my my debut here, I guess you could say.
That's right. We're gonna if you give us a few hot tips and we can make some we better not get into insider stuff. So anyway, welcome. This is gonna be your first time, but certainly not your last. So tell Conrad, I'll let you take it from here, but I'm curious to hear just kind of how all this works, man.
Well, I mean, listen, I think everybody who listens to the show knows all about DraftKings and how it works, but they probably know how it works for traditional sports. But as much as fun as I always have a pay-per-view party at my house and we watch AEW pay-per-views. We never miss one because we know on this program, AEW always over-delivers on pay-per-view. Even if you find yourself for whatever reason not being able to keep up with weekly TV, you know, when you plop down your hard-earned bucks on an AEW pay-per-view show, you're going to get more than your money's worth. It's going to be the best wrestling around. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to love it. But you can have even more fun watching the show with DraftKings. Tell us how, Steve.
Yeah, so this is the beauty of it. You know, like the whole internet community loves to say, know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. Well, this is the opportunity now where you can actually try to make some money off of this. Now, this isn't betting on wrestling events. We're probably never going to see that in our lifetime. This is basically, we have these pool contests on DraftKings. You answer these multiple choice questions with these predetermined questions that we have, basically asking you what you think is going to happen during the event, during some of these big matchups here. So put your answers in. If you're new to DraftKings, sign up with DraftKings, use promo code AEW, get in there and make your picks here. And then we're going to kind of talk about this. Double J and I hopefully will be talking about this on 0 Hour coming up too as well, but just kind of a fun way to give you a little something more as you watch what's expected to be an unbelievable pay-per-view here with Full Gear.
Now, listen, Steve, I don't know what's real and what's not, but I've seen rumor and innuendo that there's some sort of pool where there's $10,000 up for grabs for Full Gear. What's going on with that?
Conrad, you are a wonderful salesman. That is exactly what the pool is that we're going to be we're talking about here. Like I mentioned, we're going to answer some of these multiple choice questions that are on DraftKings right now. $10K in prizes for anybody who enters and gets the most right. You're just basically competing against everybody else who is entering into this pool contest. Like I said, go to DraftKings, look for the pool section on DraftKings, enter this, and you have your chance at the $10K in prizes.
Now,
unbelievable.
What kind of question is? Well, give me an example of one of the multiple choice, Steve. I'm very curious now.
Yeah, let's talk about like Hangman Adam Page going up against Samoa Joe, which I was actually quite surprised that this is actually only their second one-on-one match in AEW. You think about how long both of these guys have been in AEW, and really besides that one that we just saw at the last pay-per-view, they've only really been involved in these type of matchups. You have to go back to Revolution of 2024 when they were in that triple threat match with Swerve. One of the questions that we have that is in this pool contest is, what is the total combined muscle busters and buckshot lariats performed in this matchup by both of these participants here? The line for this one is set at 3.5. So if we start thinking about this here, right, it feels like a fairly high number. But if you go back just to WrestleDream, when Hangman Adam Page was able to take down Samoa Joe, it took 3 consecutive buckshot lariats to put down Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is not going to go down easy, folks. So if we kind of have that mentality again, that it took so many just to put him down, you would think Samoa Joe's going to at least get one muscle buster in this matchup. Although, to be fair, that did not happen at WrestleDream. It happened after the match when the Ops kind of, turned on Page and attacked him after the match. But I think over 3.5 combined buckshot lariats, muscle busters are going to take place in this matchup. So in my humble opinion, over 3.5 for that one.
Wow. All right. So Conrad, look, you go for, wait, so you have to execute them. You can't, like, the buckshot lariat can be teased. And that's one of the things the performer I love about the anticipation. He hops out of the ring, shakes the rope, gets them anticipated up. He can flip over and the guy can dipsy doodle out of it. You can do all kinds of things. So he actually has to connect with it, right?
Correct. So that has to happen. So they have to be successfully done, taken place for this to hit either over or under. So that's why I think, like I mentioned, 3 buckshot lariats from Hangman Adam Page back at WrestleDream. So I think it's going to take a lot to put down Samoa Joe. This is his second shot here, guys, at going at the world title. Had to win that 4-way match at Fright Night just to get here. Samoa Joe's not going to get many more shots at this. We all know that, getting a little older. We all are, right? These opportunities aren't going to come very often as his career goes on. So this is a big one for Samoa Joe here.
I got to go with, I'll jump in, Conrad. I got to go with the over. They're probably going to be on late. And so you have to kind of, to me, I've got that hat on. I got to take the over. What say you, Connie?
What I love most about this is it makes watching the show even more exciting.
Yes.
Because let's be honest, as quote unquote smart wrestling fans, we all kind of think we know what's going to happen anyway, just like Steve was saying. And so now it's like, well, I don't have to watch it or I don't want to watch it. But I know me and all my other friends, we don't watch the NFL that way. We're watching games that's not for our favorite team. It's not our absolute favorite, but we really need this wide receiver to do X, Y, or Z.
Yep.
But now that we have that same opportunity to have that applied to pro wrestling, man, that's winning. I get to actually try to win some cash and I get to watch wrestling. Like, if you wind up being a big winner here, Jeff, you want to talk about the ultimate gig. You're getting paid to watch wrestling, dude. How great is that?
That's classic. Yeah. So I'm going the over. What else you got for it, Steve? I had no idea when I said, hey, Conrad, my buddy, let's get him on here. We're going to have fun talking about it. He's a barrel of entertainment. I had no idea that we were going to be getting this granular, if we will. Been a while since we got granular. What do you got for it, Steve? What's the next?
And I think that's the beauty of it too. Like, we, like Conrad was just saying here, we all think we want to know what's going to happen, but I think this is the fun of it. It's like trying to get into this, research this a little bit, and it makes watching Full Gear, even better. One of the other questions that we have for this matchup here is, how long do we think this match is going to go? So the line for this one is set at over or under 19 minutes. And that's exactly where this landed at WrestleDream. If you kind of think about the two styles that we see from these guys, like with Samoa Joe, with Hangman Adam Page, like I feel like they're kind of clashing styles here, right? Like I think Hangman Adam Page wants to go a little quick and things like that, but that feels like that's the opposite of what Samoa Joe wants. He wants this to kind of grind. He wants to slow the pace of this match down. And that's where I think he really kind of succeeds. And that's where Samoa Joe really kind of shines, when he's grinding this match down, grinding his opponent down. So when we're thinking about where this match landed at WrestleDream, in that same realm, I don't think this is going to be a quick matchup. I said this means more probably to Samoa Joe than it means to Hangman Adam Page, just because the opportunities I don't think are going to be here. So I'm taking over 19 minutes for this matchup here. That goes from bell to bell. So that's how we're going to time this this match. But I think over 19 minutes is going to be the play for this one.
Conrad, I feel like I have done, by the grace of God, every job in this business.
Right.
Set up the ring, marketing, hung out posters, cleaned up, heel, babyface, referee. I don't think I've ever been in a room, and I don't know if with this to set the line, like I'm obviously not in the creative process, and who cares if you are, because it comes down to two talent that don't really know they got guidelines, but like how the heck do you come up with 3.5 and 19 minutes?
Hey, let me help you with this, Jeff. And again, I don't know. Listen, who knows what's really going to happen? But just like Steve said, they went 19 minutes and 2 seconds at WrestleDream. Of course, we're talking about Samoa Joe and Hangman Adam Page for the world title. But if you go back to Toronto for All Out, Adam Page and Kyle Fletcher went 38 minutes. When you go to Forbidden Door with Adam Page and MJF, they went 31 minutes and 38 seconds. When you go back to when Hangman beat Moxley to win the belt in July, they went 35 minutes and 53 seconds.
Stop it. Just stop.
I'm just saying, hypothetically, maybe we're getting some information here that could be valuable. The biggest question about all of this, now that we understand how it works, how do we play? What are the next steps, Steve?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, you go on to DraftKings. You can go on either on DraftKings Sportsbook, on the DraftKings Fantasy app. Every one of these apps has a pool section on the apps here. You go to that pool section. There's a lot of different ones you can get into. So even if, wrestling, if you want to get into the wrestling, there's all different types of sports there. But you just search for the AEW one, which will probably be near the bottom of the list because there's so many events before that. And just enter this and answer these questions here. Like I said, they're all multiple choice. When I give you some of these questions here, it's either, over 19 minutes or under 19 minutes. If you're new to DraftKings, you sign up, use promo code AEW. You'll get a little perks there when you sign up too as well. But seriously, it's just as easy as making your choice of which you think is going to happen, which side is going to happen, submit it, and that's it. Watch how it plays out on AEW Full Gear, coming to you from New Jersey.
Unbelievable, dude. I mean, I am so pumped. We're days away. Steve, you have enticed me. I'm doing it. There's Conrad. I know Cassio will be at the house, and if you keep him fed, you can probably get him to do a little DraftKings as well. So his ass is lucky enough he may win that $10,000. That's super.
I'm all about it, man. And what's great is DraftKings is doing this for every AEW pay-per-view. Why delay? Go do it right now this weekend. Set up with DraftKings. Use that promo code AEW. Let's have some fun and let's enjoy Full Gear. Steve, thanks for all the time. You got to come back next time there's an AEW show.
I would love to have you, pal.
Gentlemen, anytime that you need me, I am here at your disposal. Would love to come on again, and I appreciate you guys having me and come on here today.
Appreciate you, Steve. I'll see you in a few days. I want you get in makeup early and get ready. I'll get the lighting director out there to make sure we get your Anyway, pal, I'll see you in a few days. I really appreciate you coming on.
Anytime, man. Appreciate it. I'll see you then. Thank you.
Thanks, bud.
Well, DraftKings made it easy. That's not hard at all. But if you'd like to be hard, well, we can help with our friends at Blue Chew. Blue Chew got Double J so hard last week that Mrs. Jarrett texted me and said it was so hard even a cat couldn't scratch it. I don't even know what that means. I had to throw it in my Google machine, but I think it's a good thing. Blue Chew's not just a tablet, boys. It's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting. Like somebody gave your downstairs a pep talk at a gym membership. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And I should mention that I carry my Encyclopedia Britannica everywhere. Guys, this isn't just about performance. This is about your legacy or your third legacy. Give her group chat something to talk about. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Go discover your options right now at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use the promo code MyWorld at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head on over to bluechew.com for details and important safety information. And a big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. All right, Jeff, we had some fun. We talked about the greatest, most underrated tag team of all time. It's definitely the Briscoes, but I love the 1B of Arn and Tully. G&G Allhart wants to know, and this is a fun deep cut for you, Jeff. Back in the 80s and 90s, where was the best place in Memphis to get a burger?
Memphis was never a burger town, but if you want dry ribs, Rendezvous, and I know, that's all about, in my opinion, and there's several places downtown that probably, it's been a while since I've been a weekly Mempho man. But the Rendezvous to me, just something about them. But as far as
no, overrated. City and Central Barbecue is way better, but we'll digress. The question was about burgers. Did you ever have a Jerry Lawler Slam Burger?
I did not.
What's wrong with you?
That was before my time, pal. Slam burgers were gone by the time I rolled into Mempho.
All right. Was there any place that you know of, like back in the day at all, besides a fast food spot? I mean, was there a regular hangout that the guys went to? Like we've heard from a TNA perspective in Nashville that guys would go to the White Trash Cafe. Was there a restaurant like that that you recall that all the guys wanted to hang out at?
Getting in late at night on Friday nights, you're going to chuckle, buddy. Shoney's, we would wear that bad boy out. Shoney's breakfast on Saturday morning, or anyway. But no, I'm trying to think of. There is a couple of barbecue places around town, but no, and Conrad, that's the kind of deal that when you think about Memphis in the day, not to get into too much weeds here, is that, we did TV. And so you're in and out, and Friday night would be a spot show, 60, 90 minutes outside of Memphis. So it wasn't really a place where, hey, we're going to this place or that place, although we were there twice a week. So there wasn't any quote unquote big hangout.
Let's do another one here from Random Adams. Would you ever want to run/own an independent promotion, Jeff? One that doesn't necessarily have TV or anything major, one that just runs live events.
I have, run promotions at every level, but I'm in discussions, no secret, about doing a school. And I think the natural kind of progression nowadays, that I don't think a standalone school is the best route to go. I think if you're going to do a school, you can kind of have not a lot, but monthly shows, something along those lines. So I've kind of given it a thought. The thing that I think in that question that I think I heard you, without TV, in that, wasn't that part of it, that without TV,
yeah, you're just going to run shows.
And so I tell independent promoters, that phrase is outdated. You've got TV. It's just whether you're going to do something with it. And
and when you say TV, you just mean video content.
Yeah. And nowadays you can get on YouTube free, and it's the world's largest network, and you can do TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. And you just got to get, content creators. That's why the world is just completely changed. The whole IWC gets so wrapped around, and look, I'm a ratings watcher and have been for 30 years. But it's one metric. It truly is, because you have, +3, +7, but your YouTube numbers and your engagement and all that is so much more important these days. So an independent promotion has TV. It's whether they want to utilize it or not.
Next one here is K-Fabe, aka Greg. He wants to know, Jeff, do you have any backstories on how your father came up with the idea of scaffold matches? We've talked about that here before, Jeff, that your dad's kind of the innovator, the creator of the scaffold match. He certainly competed in the very first one. Did y'all ever have a conversation about that?
You know what? It's funny you say that. It was in Houston a week or so ago, and I stuck my head in. I was looking up for the back of that arena, was a little confusing, small, but a little confusing. And I saw Brian Danielson and Conrad. He just looked at me and said, "Scaffold match, your father." And I'm like, what the? He goes, "Yeah." He said, "I just, I don't know. He was just watching all this, but we kind of had that conversation about it." And I said, "Yeah, I heard story after story after story about that scaffold match. And when I finally got to see it, wasn't a lot of action, but I'm not saying it was needed, because the people, in Louisville Gardens were going bananas for that." And the whole kind of theory of, and we got into the psychology of, the whole scaffold mentality was, people paid a ticket to see one bump, somebody fall off the scaffold, and that's how you sold it. And, as time's gone on, the nature of the business is high spots and this and that. And, nowadays, I think if we did a scaffold match, you'd have 4 or 5 bumps off of it from one guy, because he'd take a bump and then figure a way to climb it again. And I don't know, just it's different. But my old man, I think his creative juices were all about storytelling and drama. And he just concocted, I don't know that there's any specific story of how he came about doing it.
We've never talked about this, and I'm sure you're going to say no, but I got to ask, was your Ultimate X creation, Was that like an homage to your dad in the scaffold match?
It was the variation, and knowing that
The deviation, maybe.
yeah, for sure. But the TNA version of the innovative version, all that. But I knew going like I had to really think that through. And I knew if we're going to do this, we have to put it on a card that is going to over deliver on action, because there's only so much drama you can create up there. And again, there's one bump, and the drama is going to be having a guy almost take the bump, almost take the bump, almost take the bump, and then the one big bump. I think if I recall right, the first one was Rhino and AJ, I think. And, like and Rhino wasn't a big fan. I wasn't completely aware of Heights, that they wasn't a big fan of Heights. But yes, it was. Even at WWE and creative department at TNA, we had it going back that, hey guys, let's think outside the box. Out of Text Exchange today with a buddy of mine in the music business, and I responded to him because he was complaining this time of year, and we're coming out, and sales in January and February and March for the little one-off shows aren't what they thought they'd be. And I said, hey man, get outside the box. You start thinking differently. And that was definitely a part of Elevation X, trying to think somewhat outside the box.
Let's do another one here from Ed. He wants to know, with John Cena and AJ Styles hanging up the boots soon, what talent is the future of wrestling? Who 10 or 15 years from now will have the same fanfare? So that's interesting. I know it's probably hard to narrow it down to just one, but if you were to take a look at a young up and comer and say, man, 15 years from now, that guy's going to look back and he will have had a hell of a career.
That
comes to mind.
Well, I think everyone that could, because the business is booming, or some people are saying the boom's over, but if you will, but our audiences continue to be fragmented much more so, and the world attention is divided in so many different ways. And so I'm going to take it back to the kind of the core basics and go, okay, who's got a style that can have longevity, but a charisma that I'll say has the ability to continue that grind. And you look at, Will Ospreay may be on the shelf right now, but he has a charisma that I think transcends years. I think Hangman transcends. I'm trying to think. That's two on this side. I'm trying to think WWE kind of folks that are rocking.
Can I give you one that maybe isn't on your list that I think you'll agree with? I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I'll throw two that come to mind immediately on the AEW side of things. Bandito and Tony Storm.
Tony Storm is not a spring chicken. And I'm saying that respectfully, but yeah, I'm with you.
How old do you think Tony Storm is?
Early 30s.
Yeah, she's exactly 30.
Okay.
So I'm just saying 10 years from now, because the question was 10 or 15 years from now. Okay. I think she could wrestle 10 more years.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, okay, fair enough. And you said Bandito.
Yeah. I think Bandito has the potential to be, nobody's ever going to be Rey Mysterio, but the way he's revered in WWE, I think Bandito will be in 10 years.
You mean AEW?
No, I'm saying the way Rey is revered in WWE.
I got you.
The respect he carries in WWE today, I think Bandito will be the AEW equivalent 10 years from now.
Fair point, pal.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Is there anybody else in the AEW Ring of Honor vertical that you look at and you say, he's young, but this guy?
Okay. Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle Fletcher, I think, is the biggest no-brainer, and one I know he's relatively new there, but and you would maybe say he's not a spring chicken because he's 28. But Kevin Knight too. I think Kevin Knight is so early. Obviously, we've seen more from Kyle Fletcher, but everybody I talk to who knows him in real life and has actually worked with him, they're like, oh, They just rattle off.
I'm with you. And yeah, his upside, because it's the building blocks in the dressing room or catering or however it may be. His charisma is going to explode on screen one day. And I'm not saying that it hasn't. It's just he hasn't had that opportunity.
He just got there this year.
That's what, and it's coming.
Yeah.
And he's developing right before our very eyes. But yes, you know what, Conrad? As you say that, I'd put him at the very top of the list.
Well, I mean, again, I think he's different than what we see a lot of times. And again, I know we haven't necessarily seen a ton of just solo stuff from him because he did a fabulous job with the Jet Speed tag team, him and Mike Bailey. But everybody I've talked to who's worked with him, they just heap praise on him. And I'm like, okay, when they're doing it, it's going to be something.
I agree.
Jeff Shanahan wants to know what match or feud / angle does Jeff think has had the most profound impact on his career? Now that's a hard hitter there.
Match, angle,
or feud. Like if you were to look back, because I know sometimes people speak in generalities in wrestling and they say, oh, that was a good piece of business. What one piece of business do you think had a bigger impact on your career than anything else?
Well, if you take the Scott Hall 6 months or a little bit longer than that out of my career, and you know, and I've said it, I think he would have gone along with it because he was a businessman, but his willingness, you know, where he was at, he'd come off that Savage angle and a couple of more, but that Razor Ramon character was super. It really had a lot of equity and rolling behind it. And here comes this guy and they lay it out. And he's like, hell yeah, I'm into it. That was big, really, really big. I think that has as bigger. Yeah. That 6 months with him, 5 months with him, is probably had the most impact. Cause that set me, you know, I got a main event or two at the Garden. I got a main event house show, couple of runs, or you know, whatever it may be out of that. Me and him headlined live events. That took me up the card.
I might say, for different reasons, the China feud / match / angle. Because the way it ends results in not only you jumping to WCW and becoming the world champion and working main events almost immediately, with all due respect, it took you from the assistant manager we've joked about before. So you're, you know, second from the top to now you're in the main event. And it was because of that jump. And it was because of the way the jump happened that Vince goes on TV, publicly fires you, and then you create TNA. But if the China thing had not happened the way it did, would you have won the big gold belt and been the world champion? Would you have started TNA? Like when you talk about impact on your career, as far as
I'm with you.
The WWF, Razor, but what had a longer tail? Probably China, maybe
much longer tail. Much. Yeah. Well, I can't. I mean, it's both of them. It's hard to. Good call again. When you say career, like the China chess piece move, like you just laid in, if you really want to dovetail into that being TNA, it gave me an opportunity to follow in the footsteps truly of the family business and be a promoter full time. Yeah.
Yes. Like, does TNA even exist without the China thing? I don't know that it does.
I don't either. I mean, we've kind of talked about the what ifs. If I would have re-signed with you know, me and JR got on the same page, my career would look completely different.
I'm not saying this to be funny because we all know that it worked out the way it was supposed to, and we love him. But realistically, how different does a guy's career like AJ Styles look if you get a raise in 1999 and you stay with the WWF?
I agree.
Or what happens?
Yeah,
it happens the way it's supposed to. To be clear, not saying he wasn't going to make it and he never would have found a way. I mean, he's so fucking talented, it's ridiculous. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying TNA had to exist for him to get that opportunity. Now, that doesn't mean that, because as a reminder, before he went to WWE, he went and established himself in New Japan, and he was going to do that no matter what. So we're not saying that Jeff, quote unquote, made him, but we're also not denying that you helped along the way for sure.
Well, and that I have had this conversation with multiple people. Had I not started TNA, what or who would have filled that vacuum? Who would have tried to be number 2?
The XWF for a cup of coffee? Who knows?
Yeah. And they tried. I mean, that's
Lord bless them.
Yep.
Let's do another one here. This is a fun one. Roy Winston wants to know who's got the greatest drop kick of all time. And thanks for setting the example of success and sobriety. Nice little love there from Roy Winston.
Appreciate you, Roy. One day at a time, pal. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Best drop kick. Well, obviously Okada throws a hell of a drop kick. Back in the day, I was amazed at Doug Furness. He could do the drop kick and then flip backwards. That kind of had a variation on it. I'm going to put mine right up there at the top of them.
When did you know you had a good drop kick?
When Akio Sato came and said, "Hey, he that during that first 3 or 4 months of in the business, when he came to me and said, hey, he gave me a little tweaks, and because a lot of guys do it off 1 foot, and I was like, let's try this, and we were just kind of tweaking it and all this, and I've jumped over his head before. That's when he was just like, damn. That early in that run, Akio Sato was like, before I'd put on, even a few weight. Back in the day, the basketball hops back in that I knew during that program, and he helped me so much with the timing of it.
Let me give you we mentioned AJ Styles earlier. He's got a pretty damn good one. I think Hardcore Holly has a sneaky good one.
He does,
but I don't think enough people talk about. I think Randy Orton is pretty damn good.
Yep.
Dolph Ziggler had a good one.
Damn, I didn't. Orton's got a really good one, and his
nobody talks about that either.
Oh, and as big a guy as he is,
huge.
That's yeah. AJ's always had a good one. You just named 2 or 3, but man,
back in the day, Mr. Perfect had a good one too.
Yeah, Randy's
right. Okay,
top. He's as sneaky good.
PJ wants to know. This is kind of fun. I love learning about the business of the business. Jeff, what sold better, the "Don't Piss Me Off" shirt or "Listen Up, Slap Nuts"? What have you seen more of out in the wild?
Jesus, it is no comparison. And the "Don't Piss Me Off" certainly didn't have many. Didn't have a long run. Look at the competition. I say all due respect. Austin 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 SKUs. DX 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 SKUs. I mean, he was so far down, and rightly so. 2 hot babyface acts. So it just all that. The Slap Nuts out of nowhere took off. At the time, there weren't really any catchphrases to my recollection. It clicked and took off, and it was a top seller for quite a while. And then since then, it's continued to sell.
What a name this is. Puss Bucket wants to know, Jeff can have a concession stand brawl against either Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, or Eric Embry. Who's he facing?
No doubt, Jerry Lawler. Was a master at even psychology. That's why I know I brag about him or compliment him enough, but Lawler could integrate in a concession stand brawl. I'll just pull anything out. A mop in the back of the concession stand. He would introduce it at the beginning of the brawl and then tease it and then forget about it and tease it and forget about it and then use it in the finish. And it would all make sense and tie it all together. He was a master at that kind of stuff.
Besides your dad, Is Lawler number 2 in terms of the person you learned the most from in the business? And if I've got that right, who's number 3? Is it Dutch Mantel, Vince McMahon, someone else?
In ring, I think there's in ring and out of ring. In ring, Lawler's number 1. Sean may not know this, but I really studied him even when he came in. He was a couple of years older, but he had been working up for Vern and stuff like that. It just kind of hit. I learned a lot in a short amount of time, but I'd say Lawler 1 in ring. Dutch helped me a lot through the years, in ring, mannerisms, mole man business overall, psychology, perception, understanding about the top of the card, middle of the card, the bottom of the card, how to create a show flow, all those kind of things to me from a promoter mentality. Lawler would drop gems here and there about promoter mentality, observing and then working with Vince, to me, just on another level, because he would sit in silence in the whole room. What's this guy thinking about? And then all of a sudden he would say a few words and you would go, well, for sure, I didn't think he was thinking about that, but he's thinking about this. Oh, okay. And I told the story on here that I was running live events and he asked me to stay late, and we're going to go over a Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins match, move by move, start to finish. And I'm like, what am I getting into? Well, like, not what I'm getting into, like anyway, but he thought through really ins and outs. And, here's a guy at this stage, late 60s, early 70s, and had just such a sense for both those characters. It was another level, but his promoter acumen too on certain things. And he would just catch off guard and think, I really wasn't thinking about that. Road Dogg and me have had those kind of conversations, that it's the wisdom. It's why they're so successful. They think 3, 4, 5, and 6. And, Lawler used to say that about my dad. Your old man thinks way too far down the road for me. I'm not all about that, but that is something my dad tried to teach me. Think down the road.
Wrestle Squish wants to know, what was TNA's guitar budget back in the day?
Oh, we had a nice, healthy budget. Get them made in bulk. Get them made in 6-12 at a time is the way to do it. I don't know.
What's the most affordable guitar you remember buying, and what's the most expensive guitar? Because I'm sure they've had you over a barrel before you figured it out. A solution.
Three would be the cheapest. Go into a pawn shop and like, I'm not going to sell this here. Take it, Jeff. It's an honor. Take it. Most expensive. I'm going to go back to those WCW. I need to ask Ellis, like, do you remember a price tag? I want to say they're like $600 or $700 a guitar, but they were prop. They were specifically made, and I didn't think they were worth a damn. They were truly balsa wood. It was, didn't want to hurt anybody and this and that. But they were uniquely made. I'll say that. They stayed together, but on impact, they exploded. So I'd say those guitars, $600 or $700 a pop.
That's Mr. Porky to you, wants to know, what was your reaction when you got your instructions to get kicked by Chuck Norris?
I need to ask Bruce one day. I believe Bruce is the one that may have delivered it to me. But I was just like, okay, wow, out of this group. Yeah, I'll take it. I was just, I had a strong feeling that it's going to be more than snug, but as long as I turn my head and keep my chin up, he's probably pretty accurate with this line of work with his kicks. So I was prepared for the worst. And on one of those things like that is until you, and that's where, hey man, did you guys rehearse that? No, never. Boy, but that's when you really know, okay, he's a pro's pro. That's same way with the Tito Ortiz. Yep. He just looked at me confidently. Don't worry, I'll be there. And I'm thinking, is he really going to be there? But no, it was snug. I felt it. But anyway, when you're a pro, you're a pro. And Norris definitely is a pro's pro.
Let's talk a little bit about Mark's question. And this is a fun one because it's silly, but A lot of people have debated this. Jeff, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 12 duck-sized horses? So it's a duck the size of a horse.
I don't want to fight no duck the size of a horse.
So you'd rather fight 12 horses that are duck sizes?
Yes.
Okay. Did your dad ever show you how a horse bites corn? My dad will have to show you that next time he sees
I've
you.
witnessed it, but I've certainly, my dad got 2 swans put out front, clipped their wings. Let one of those swans, after it rains for a good long time and the ponds kind of get higher and higher and higher. And so then all of a sudden the swan can kind of look out and say, oh, there's another little pond down there, another little pond down there. And they work their way down there. Then the next thing you know, at 4 a.m., you get a call from the neighbors. Hey, your swans, they're in our front yard eating all of our flowers. Can you come get them? Get woken up. Son, go get the swans. What? You ever tried to pick up a swan, Conrad, when they don't want to get picked up?
Was it like a Rocky montage, a training video where you're chasing a swan?
They'll just beat the shit out of you. Like,
wait a minute. So you put over China and swans?
Big time.
Wow.
I mean, in putting it up in the back of a pickup truck that was not jacked up high enough, but it was high enough 4-wheel drive. And so you got to get a swan in the back of the pickup truck and then shut the door where it can't get out. And you got 2.
Let me just go ahead and say, I've got an idea for your last opponent. You and 2 swans. Handicap match. Here's a fun one here. This is, listen, you're gonna have to really think about this because I love this question. It's from Alpha Russ, and he wants to know if you had one redo for any match. You had WCW, WWE, or TNA. What would it be and why? So you're not redoing a feud, you're not redoing an angle, but it's one match that you wish, damn it, if I had it to do over again, I would have done this. Maybe you had that at some point. What was it?
Damn. I wish I would have had time to think on this, or in a room that people kind of know my career, like, because this is an interesting, great question.
In my head, and I don't know if this is right, but in my head, it's Hogan Bash at the Beach 2000. Like, you never really got the Hogan match. If you could have just had a regular match with Hulk Hogan on pay-per-view, like,
if that's an option.
Well, I mean, it was a match.
Yeah. There's not even a close second.
Yeah.
I also think that's one of those what ifs. And I'm not saying, quote unquote, Hogan play ball, but just a different set of circumstances. Russo and Bischoff and Hogan, and they were all moderately rowing in the right direction. Just what if we would have had that match? I'm not saying it sets the woods on fire on buy rates or none of that, but just gone out and had that match, because I never got that opportunity. Yes, Conrad, that is the number one by far.
Well, number one in your phone needs to be Legal Buddy. That's because life happens fast. One minute you think you're working a main event against Hulk Hogan. The next minute you're just laying down and letting him beat you for a story. But even worse, one minute you could be driving home after work, and the next you could see flashing lights in your rearview mirror. Uh-oh, brother. Your heart skips, your hands tighten on the wheel, and you start asking yourself, what do I do now, Slappy? That's when you need someone on your side. And with the Legal Buddy app, you can connect with a local attorney in seconds, not hours, not days, but right when you need the help. And maybe you find yourself backstage being asked to put over China, and you're like, you know what? I need some attorney's advice of what to do now. The Legal Buddy app can help. Whether you're looking to hold up Vince McMahon, or it's a DWI or a car accident, a criminal charge, or even just a traffic ticket, the Legal Buddy app puts real legal support right in your pocket. Imagine having an attorney on call, maybe for gimmick infringement, ready to guide you through some of life's most stressful moments. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't a call center. It's not a waiting game. It's direct access to a lawyer who understands your situation and your community, and one who can step in right away. Think about this. When trouble knocks, do you want to face it alone, or would you rather have the confidence of knowing a professional is already on your side? That's the peace of mind that Legal Buddy gives you. And buddy, let me tell you how easy it is. Just download the Legal Buddy app right now at legalbuddyapp.com. Register today and use the referral code LEGAL for your chance to win a $250 Amazon gift card. Life is unpredictable. Accidents happen, tickets happen, mistakes happen, but when they do, you don't have to go through it alone. The Legal Buddy app, always on your side. Download the app today and use the referral code LEGAL. All right. Tetley has a great question for you, Jeff. It'll be an easy one. It's complimentary too. What type of shampoo does he use? As my God, what a head of hair he has.
Excuse me. Whatever kind the queen puts in the shower, but the key, my man, is all in the conditioner. You have to use, got to condition that stuff. Folks that don't condition their hair, anyway, conditioner you got, and she also rotates conditioner. So, got to always keep the hair healthy conditioned.
Robbie Rogers wants to know, what did Memphis think about Cornette and Smoky Mountain Wrestling? Did Jeff ever work any Smoky Mountain Wrestling shows?
Never did. Timing on all that kind of WWF and all that, but that question, I'm not sure I completely understood it, because at the end of the day, Cornette started in Memphis. Smoky Mountain.
What did your dad think of Smoky Mountain Wrestling?
He, I'm sure, loved it. I mean, I can't say every episode, but he didn't run opposition, if you will. It was in the Smoky Mountains. It was Knoxville. It was, Eastern Kentucky. So healthy for the industry. Look, my dad, his mindset and giving Jimmy the break, I mean, he thought he was incredible. I mean, crazy talented, incredible talent. And the old story goes, he was a photographer, and Jim, if you can get as much heat out in the arena as you do back here with some of the boys, then you're going to make a lot of money. But that's kind of tongue in cheek. But knowing what he had, and then putting him on Memphis TV and off to the races. And in a lot of ways, I think my dad, if you had to say, hey, give me your top 5 pieces of talent that you, I don't want to say produce, but discovered, produced, nurtured, whatever it may be, I think you would have to say Jimmy's in there. It just goes without saying. So him starting his own promotion and everything that went with that, it's, kind of like, I don't say the Saban coaching tree or a coaching tree, but he looked fondly at guys that worked through the territory and then went on. My dad was always complimentary of Dutch, of Dundee, guys that worked in here. And then Eric Embry. Eric Embry likes to say that he really studied how Jerry Jarrett booked and took a page out of him as much as he possibly could. So, that to me is the Smoky Mountain promotion was one that, I don't think, I mean, we didn't have specific, but my dad was tickled to death. Run a promotion, good for the industry, big time.
2 last questions as we wrap things up here on My World. Aaron wants to know, do you still have the David Von Erich robe that Carrie gave you?
No, that was a complete storyline. Wish it wasn't, but no, do not have it.
Austin Messner wants to know, hey there guys, what's Jeff's favorite design of the world title throughout all of wrestling history and why? So not necessarily the favorite belt that you won, but of all the world titles now and going back to the beginning of the time, is there one belt that you think, man, that's kind of the one, that's the one that I like better than any other?
Did he say world title or just a championship title?
He said world title, but I know where you're going, so give me both.
Well, I always look. I was a huge Savage fan, and so Savage's IC version, it ranks right up there. I just thought the size of it, I love that. I also thought that the belt that I used to see, quote unquote, come through the territory, the NWA title, not Briscoe, later on, Harley. When did that come in? Because that was I'll say this, whatever. Yeah, that's this belt or this belt. The one that Flair had wrestling Coco Ware.
It debuted in 73.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it was that when I got to see the world champ up close, that was a big one. Conrad, I don't think we've ever talked about Bockwinkel in that AWA belt. I thought that had a pretty cool look, but I'll circle back to, I know that hearing in dressing rooms, the big gold, all that, just the big one that used to be right behind me before, but the AWA with that. I was a big fan of that. I thought it just carried so much weight. And then when I got an opportunity, and that's the one I won, I think that has to rank right up there at the very top for me.
Well, we want to hear from you guys. What was your favorite world title belt? Let us know below. And we want to hear, who did you think had the best drop kick? Who would you pick to be Jeff Jarrett's dream opponent for his last match? Let us know below here on YouTube at myworldpod.com. I had a lot of fun just throwing the keys of the program to our listeners. And we've actually got enough questions that we could do another one of these in the coming weeks. So as we get closer and closer to these holidays during the holiday season, we'll throw some more in. Let us know if you've got questions. Just let us know in the comments below here. If, man, I wish I would have missed this and I wanted to ask Jeff a question. Go ahead and do me two favors. One, hit subscribe and turn on the notifications bell. That's two things, but that's favor number one. And then two, throw us a like and ask us a question. Because if we pick your question, we'll maybe go in there and say, hey, listen on the upcoming episode. You'll get a little notification and you'll know, oh, they did ask my question. But what if we did it live? Then you'll get a push notification right from the YouTube channel. And you could actually jump on with Jeff and ask him a question in real time. So if you've got a follow-up, you don't want to miss it. So go hit the subscribe button right now, turn on the notifications bell. And Jeff, this was a blast. We got to get with DraftKings again. I kind of dig that. Like, I have to admit, I haven't done that before for AEW, but I'm doing it this weekend at Full Gear. How about you?
It's great to me. You referenced the fantasy football, and I think it irritates Karen to no end at times when I'll flip and you got the YouTube and I'm watching, and she's like, what are you doing watching this Saints game? I said, oh, the wide receiver, he's in the red zone, all that. It just makes you different. Look at it. And look, we're both longtime watchers, but us sitting here debating about 3.5 buckshot
lariats is great.
It is a lot of fun. So I enjoyed Steve. He's a great dude. Looking forward to seeing him this weekend, but appreciate him coming on. But no, the Ask Jeff Anything, they're always a blast, Connie. And you, my man, never cease to amaze me because you've made me think, yep, the China match, because I was going with Scott. There's a couple of times today that, as far as influential on the career, I love Scott and being the IC champ, but it pales in comparison to the impact.
Yes.
The China match. Yeah, no doubt.
We had fun on My World. We hope you did too. Hit that subscribe button and tune in next week. We're going to be talking about Full Gear, and we'll probably be hitting some of Jeff's top fives. We didn't even do that today. We had so much fun with your questions, but the rumor and innuendo is, Jeff, you're going to shock the world with some really great compliments about maybe some of the unsung heroes of wrestling. We'll talk about all that and more next week right here on My World.
Peace.
Hey, did you know you can own for less than your current rent? We can help at savewithconrad.com. Stop throwing your money away on rent. You don't know any wealthy renters. Start building wealth for your family with my family at savewithconrad.com.